Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of 13 Rings Podcast, an NFC East podcast now. As you guys probably have noticed on our social media, we have changed the name to 13 Rings, an NFC East podcast. We're still going to call it 13 Rings Podcast here for short, but we are back with our 24th episode. I'm your host, Lucas, with Earl and Maurice, and instead of Mal, because she is on holiday plans, we have Chris, the host of Giants Dads podcast. He's back again with us. Welcome back, Chris.
Hey guys, welcome. So glad to be back and glad to break bread again with you guys to talk about the previous week and break bread.
Absolutely, yeah. We definitely appreciate it. And this is going to be a week where none of us is happy because the division went 0-4, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, that's the first time this season, right?
No, I think it happened before. No, I think it happened.
When? Was it the week that the Eagles lost to the Jets?
It had to be, but I will check.
Yeah, double check that, because I feel like it's the first time. But what's not for the first time is, like I said, Chris is back with us, and he's going to open up the podcast. Well, actually, before we go to Chris, I had to catch myself here because I just love the game stuff. But before we get into that, we're going to go ahead and review our Week 15 predictions. So Week 15, we all had Washington winning. That would have been nice. It did not happen.
That was a gift present. That was a Christmas gift to you, Lucas.
Well, weeks for the Giants, we had 3 out of 4 of us guessing that they would lose. Chris, I'll give you one guess who had them winning.
Oh, my phenomenal friend Mal.
Yeah, she had them winning. That did not work out for her. All of us.
Last week, but I believe it last week.
Okay.
Not in Tommy Cutlets, but Derek Carr messing up more than Tommy Cutlets.
Well, we'll definitely get to Tommy Cutlets here.
We'll break it down for sure, my man.
Yeah. And then for Philly, Week 15, 3 out of 4 of us had them losing. Guess who had them winning, though?
I think it was Earl.
It was Earl. Earl was the only one had them winning.
That was also a Christmas present.
And then,
it was a good one.
And then Week 15, we went 50-50 on the Cowboys winning and losing. Me and Mal had them losing. Earl and Maurice had them winning. So, that being said.
And this is the first week that NFC East went on for.
I knew it. Okay, good. Yeah. So, I mean, not good, but I feel validated that I was correct. Anyway, so Chris, how about you talk about Tommy Cutlets, our Italian brochacci, the Guido of the NFL. Oh. Talk to us about him and the Giants in this loss against the Saints this past week.
Well, I feel that would be a detriment to the sport. I'm going to talk the Giants because football is a team sport.
That's fair.
No. Yes. And unfortunately, the Giants still as a whole is detrimented as a 53-man roster. And it shows. This game, the Giants still were able to start out slow. Even by halftime, it was tied 7-7. It was a game. But for some reason, I just don't understand from a defensive standpoint and scheme. You weren't bringing pressure. You weren't able to get pressure with 2 of their starters out. Ryan Ram was out, and they just couldn't generate pressure. They were sitting in zone, which the Giants performed from a defensive standpoint best in man and press man. So to sit back in zone and just let Derek Carr pick you apart. He had his best statistical game all season against the Giants. Was just it just hurt so much. It was just a blow to the stomach. From an offensive standpoint, just could never get the run game going, which from a 22 standpoint, that was a Giants kind of backbone. They were very good at running the football. They were top 5 football team running the football, and they can't run the football at all. And that all stems back to the injuries in key positions, whether that be Andrew Thomas going down. He's healthy now. Whether that be Saquon Barkley being injured for a good amount of games, especially in the toughest part of the schedule. Our quarterback 1 and quarterback 2 going down. Like, we're on our third string quarterback. The expectations for us to be able to stick in the games and not wavering is just not realistic. This team is kind of on its last leg, and I have this conversation with Giants fans all the time, is to kind of reel in your expectations. And unfortunately, it's just a lost season. Like, it's time to look forward to the future and kind of see what you have with the youth on this team. The GM and the coach have done a great job in drafting in the past 2 drafts and what they've been dealt. Continue to develop that talent, and let's move forward to the future. But when it came to this game, like, unfortunately, we didn't really have a shot.
So I'll be honest with you here. So let's be clear. What you think went wrong was the defense and the offensive line. And was there anything that went right for you in this game for the team?
They got bailed out with a couple big penalties that were not really penalties.
Okay.
That there was a not a targeting call, but an unnecessary roughness against Daniel Bellinger. There was another like a defensive holding or another penalty that they got bailed out again. That helped them out a lot, but offensively, you can't run the football. They did a good job pass blocking from an offensive line standpoint.
I mean, they gave up 6 sacks, so is that really a good?
But this is not all sacks are equal.
That's fair.
There was time in the pocket. Tommy DeVito was holding the ball and not stepping up in the pocket properly to avoid some of those sacks.
Okay.
So this is where the whole conversation of, oh, Tommy DeVito is better than Daniel Jones and Tyrod. No, he's not. There was a lot of situation where he's holding onto the ball, and he's looking for those deep routes that take longer to matriculate, and guys still aren't open, and he still can't get to his second or third read. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, if you got to either throw it away or you got to go to your third route, your third progression. You can't hold the ball. You can't hold the ball. You got to read the defense.
Now, watching the game from some clips I've seen, like I said, I didn't watch the game entirely. Was DeVito missing some open targets throughout the game?
Mm-hmm.
Were guys getting open and he just missed the read?
This all the games.
So I'm guessing, just based off of how you're talking about him, you are not infatuated with him the way that Mal is, and most Giants fans are.
No.
Okay.
So is he the answer for potentially playing his way into a backup role for cheap for the Giants? Absolutely.
Okay.
The other thing that you have to look at in these past 2 to 3 games, the Giants' defense from a statistical standpoint is playing out of this world.
Yeah, they are.
So the amount of and that's why when I say, when you look at the quarterback play across the league, not all quarterback play is equal, because you got to look at it from an at-bat standpoint. Some quarterbacks get more possessions than other quarterbacks. Some quarterbacks get more attempts. So Tommy DeVito had 6 times that he got to be in the red zone against the Packers. We ended up only scoring 24 points. That game should have been way more, should have been nasty. We should have blew them if you look at it from that standpoint, if Tyrod or Daniel were playing, and were able to actually score consistently in the red zone. So that's just, and then even the Commanders game, the second game that he started, we had 5 turnovers against the Commanders, or 6 turnovers. Like, it
was a lot.
Yeah,
we had about 9 sacks.
Scored like 30 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were pretty bad in that game offensively. I can't even front on that. But
yeah.
So I don't.
Even the Patriots game, I want to say they had 3 or 4 turnovers and only scored 10 points. Like, if you look at Tommy DeVito, he's never been able to get the ball at the 20 or 25 and drive the ball down the field.
So I want to say a few things first. So first off, did Mal ever tell you the not the bet, but the proclamation she made last week on this podcast concerning Mr. DeVito?
No, sir.
She said that if he can beat the Eagles on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, was it Christmas Day or Christmas Eve? I think it's Christmas Day. Christmas Day. She would get the number 15 tattooed on her.
God bless her soul, because the quarterback alone isn't going to be able to beat the Eagles. There's
Yeah.
certain things that, and we can get into it later in the podcast.
Yeah, we will.
There's certain points that are going to have to happen that the Giants haven't been able to do for a long time. The same way they weren't able to stop the run, they're going to have to be able to stop the run against the Eagles.
Well, the Eagles aren't quite running it as much as they should, but that's okay. That's another thing.
If
for
the Eagles
another.
magically decide to turn it on and figure out this is what their identity is and this is what works for them, then the Giants are in some deep crap. Historically, every time we play them, they run the ball down our throats. We can't stop the run, and it doesn't matter about the quarterback. It's the quarterback literally doesn't have to do much. It's just run the ball down your throat, double, triple team Dexter Lawrence. Kayvon's completely taken out of the picture with Lane Johnson, and it's a wrap. Like,
all right. So we're not getting into that quite yet. So just hold those thoughts.
And I'm just saying the difference between that and with Philly and Dallas versus Washington are Kayvon and Dexter can take over the game versus Washington. They can't versus Philly and Dallas, and that's the difference.
Okay, fair enough. But
that's
so
cool.
my other thing is, so last week I'm Italian, so I always love a good Italian story, and this is definitely one with Tommy DeVito. I will say this, that I believe that, and I said this last week, I'm like, is he the guy? Is he not the guy? I need to see more. Is he the guy, or is he like a Taylor Heineke? And that's what I think he's starting to prove, is that he's a good, good character guy that can get the locker room invigorated. But when push comes to shove, he can't carry a team to a win, not by himself. And
I think it's too early to say what he is or isn't, because he's an undrafted rookie.
Okay, so if that's the case, because you were making it sound like earlier that you've already decided that he's a backup quarterback for next year. But let me ask you this. Let's say he does split the series with the Eagles, and then he wins the other game that they play.
The Rams.
Is there an open competition this summer? Yeah, against the Rams.
Regardless what he does, there's going to be open competition with the quarterback.
Okay. And do you think that if he does well, that they don't necessarily draft a quarterback in the first round then?
If he does well or bad, there is going to be an open competition with the quarterback.
At the end of the day, Tommy DeVito was a third-string quarterback for a reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's absolutely no chance. And I said this before. If Tommy DeVito is your quarterback game 1 next season, everybody in that front office needs to be fired.
And I'm not saying that the Giants need to completely say we made a mistake with Daniel Jones.
I think they need to.
This is my personal opinion. In my opinion, if the Giants are in a position to go up and get a quarterback they're in love with, and they don't have to completely give up the house, and you can get an upgrade from what you have, you go do it.
Okay, fair enough.
Because of with the situation of what Daniel has been dealt, I think Daniel is broken in New York.
I think he is too.
Daniel, with consistency around him, he can be an average quarterback to an above average quarterback at his ceiling. But I think he's just been broken. He's been broken in New York.
I think he's lost the locker room, and we've talked about this before, where him getting paid all that money and Saquon not, where Saquon clearly is the best offensive player, I think rubbed some of the guys the wrong way there. And you can see
at Big Blue Knockout, they were on with Joe Patino, and Joe Patino completely said he's in the locker room all the time, and that's not the case at all. These guys have it back.
Okay. So it's not that. Okay. It looked like it from an effort standpoint of like the offensive line and, the skill players. That's what it looked like from the outside. That doesn't happen.
The media tries to paint that picture. That's not the case inside the locker room.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Do you have a player of the game here, that one Giants player that actually stood out well in this game for you?
Deonte Banks.
Oh yeah, Banks. He had an interception. No, he didn't have an interception. He had the most tackles in this game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
He He actually climbed up into the top 5 total tackles for the NFC East this season, I think, with this game. He had Deontay Banks. No, he had 3 tackles. Who was I thinking of?
He's been him and Xavier McKinney have been playing very well for us in our secondary.
Yeah. That's fair. I was thinking of Jason Pinnock. Okay, anyway, it's time to transition. We're going to go to the Commanders now. And I said it before, I say it again. Hail to the process. That is where we're at in the season.
Up. Who are you? A commander.
Can you say that again? Because I didn't hear you.
I said left hand up. Who are you? A commander.
Yeah. Look, it's not good, man. Look.
Hey,
let's be clear.
First
off, so we lost to the Rams 28 to 20. But before they benched Sam Howell, which did happen, they were down, I think it was 6 to was it 6 or 7? It was one of the two anyway. To 28. Sam Howell got benched in the fourth quarter, about 9 minutes left, and then Jacoby Brissett. We know he's a solid veteran, really good solid. Floats around 500 as per record wise, but he's solid, right? He can manage a game for you. He's not going to win you a lot of games, but he's a good game manager, right? He goes down and gets two touchdowns in the span of 9 minutes, making it actually worth a game here. Now, to be clear, Ron Rivera said that there's no quarterback controversy, and I believe that. I think that this is just part of the growing process for Sam in terms of, sometimes you just need to get when you're young, and sometimes you're overthinking things. Because he was overthinking things. I mean, look, Terry McLaurin has not had a 100-game receiving game yet this season, and then he gets 2 deep bombs from Jacoby Brissett, and then he gets I think his highest yards in a single game at 140 some odd. Like, look, clearly there's no chemistry with Sam and Terry in terms of the deep ball, which is not good. I mean, but besides that, defensively, we're just a wreck. It doesn't matter who's coaching it. The defense has lost its edge, especially the secondary. The secondary is just horrendous. We're in full-on tank mode. I don't want us to win next week. We'll talk about that more later. But, this game has made me feel about this. Look, if you want to have Sam Howell come into our season next year as our starting quarterback with a new head coach, a new, probably new coordinator, I'm okay with that. That's completely fine. However, if the franchise decides to go with a quarterback with a top 5 pick with a new head coach and new GM, which will probably be happening here in terms of, they're going to fire Ron Rivera, and probably the GM is out too. So I'm okay with that too. Look, Sam Howell has struggled for the past, I think, 4 weeks now. He leads the league in interceptions, leads the league in sacks. You can't, obviously not all of them are on him, but there's enough there to warrant concern. And I get that he has a horrendous offensive line that needs to be addressed. But just the last couple weeks, it feels like he's been in his own head. And I'm starting to worry that maybe dealing with this situation that he's in is going to ruin him like it's ruined so many other young quarterbacks. So that's the bad. The good is that Jacoby Brissett came in. He looked like Jacoby Brissett. He made Terry McLaurin look great. The offense was actually humming. It looked so much better, which is, take that as you will. My player of the game is Terry McLaurin. Any thoughts, guys? You guys can chime in now. I'm good.
I mean, you're really negative on Sam Howell.
I'm not saying no. I just said if they bring him back, I'm okay with it. But if they're not, I'm okay with it too. That's not negative. That's just being realistic. The guy leads the league in sacks and interceptions. Those are the 2 worst stats for a quarterback.
Well, I mean, it's his first season.
Yeah,
yes.
it really is rookie year. Is rookie year. Bad offensive line. doesn't have great chemistry with his receivers. Like I said it before, I'll give him another year. I would give Sam Howell.
I probably would
He
too.
has
But here's the thing: we're getting a new head coach, a new GM. Are
Mhm.
they going to want to take the risk of not starting out with their guy, with a guy that there are still question marks, regardless if you like him or not? There are question marks about Sam Howell now, especially with this bad stretch of games. I'm not saying that I don't like him. I'm just saying if I'm a new head coach, a new GM coming into this, I'd rather get a rookie that I can have a longer timeline with, and that's the guy that I know that I want to go to battle with.
What year is this for Sam Howell?
This is the second season.
Second year.
Still has what, 2 more seasons before you have to tag him?
Yeah.
Or he's not tagged because he's not a first round pick.
No. He's a 5th rounder, so two more years before you got to give him an extent. Yeah.
Who would you want at GM here?
GM? I'd take a legacy player. I'd take a player somebody that's a former Commanders, Redskins player has a legacy with the franchise. Doug Williams. He's currently a special advisor. I'd be opening to getting a more football guy in there, and I know that they're looking at analytical guys too, which isn't a surprise for Josh Harris because he has not Sam Hinkie. Wow, that's a callback there for Sixers fans. No, he has Daryl Morey as the GM of the Sixers. So like, I can see him going that route. And in terms of head coach, at the beginning of the season, I thought it'd be Bieniemy. I don't believe in Bieniemy anymore. I don't think he can. I think there's going to be, if he takes over a team, he's going to have to take it over with no veterans, and he's going to have to install his philosophy. And I don't know if the kids today can handle his type of tough love that he gives. I don't want Bill Belichick. If he's going to want to be GM, if he wants to be GM, then no. If he just wants to coach, then yes. But let's be real. He's not going to want to just coach. He's going to want to GM too. So no, I don't want Bill Belichick.
I don't think Belichick is coming to Washington, bro.
I don't think so either. But
he might not. But he's the best option, I think, for you guys.
I don't think so. But look how bad New England looks right now. But
they don't have Tom Brady. That's why
he needs a quarterback.
That's my point.
He needs to come to a system that has a quarterback.
Yeah, and we don't like I said, Sam's not sure. Like, I like Ben Johnson from the Lions, like the offense coordinator there. He's a guy I'm looking at. He's a guy I'm looking at. I don't know if I'm looking at anybody in college. I probably
for a GM or a coach.
Coach.
Okay.
GM wise, I already said Doug Williams. I'm okay with Doug Williams.
What about Joe Brady?
He ain't leaving Buffalo.
Nah, he's not leaving there.
What, head coach? Okay.
No.
The reason I'm asking about GM because for the longest you guys have been horrible with drafting.
Well, we had a guy in the mid. Gosh.
You had Bruce Allen for forever.
No. He was the team president, not the GM. They've had GMs underneath Bruce Allen. There was a guy that they had during the Jay Gruden era. I want to say.
So how did drafting work for you guys then?
During that guy, he ended up getting fired because he had alcohol-related problems. But when he wasn't dealing with that,
or did the team president select the prospect?
Oh, I guess the GM did at that point. But no, he actually did some good draft picks there. He got like Brandon Sheffer, Morgan Moses, Kendall Fuller. There's a handful of them that I can't remember off the top of my head, but he wasn't bad. But like I said, he had alcohol-related problems, so he was let go. I can't remember his name for the life of me. He starts with an M. But no, I mean, look, if I'm gonna if I get somebody from I'm looking at Philly's
Michael Mayhew.
Michael Mayhew, yeah, I think it was him.
Yeah, he went to the Raiders and got fired.
Oh well, look, when he was with us, he wasn't bad.
Yeah, he was with you guys before the Raiders, and then he got hired. I think it was Yeah,
we fired him because of alcohol-related issues. I don't know why the Raiders fired him, but going back to this, if I'm going to look at somebody else besides Doug Williams, I'm looking at the Eagles front office and trying to poach somebody from there because they've had a really stable front office for how many years, Maurice? How many years has has that front office been intact?
Well,
But let's also keep it a buck. Howie's been.
Oh no, we're not getting Howie. I'm just saying one of his subordinates.
But Howie, before he came up, he was messing up. He was the same guy that drafted Jalen Rager over AJ Brown.
You're not gonna hit on everybody.
And
You're not gonna hit on
Jefferson.
Right, I get that. But people in general always look at the good versus the long term. Yes, Howie's done well recently, but Howie's been with the Eagles for forever.
And he's had some really successful teams for the most part.
Yeah, I think
Howie's only been the GM for how long, Maurice?
He's been GM for, I want to say, well, he had that 1 year where Chip Kelly kind of like took his position, but outside of that, he's been GM for, I want to say,
did he hire Chip Kelly?
Oh, that was really a Jeffrey Lurie hire. Yeah, but he's been there for 13 years.
13 years, so since 2010.
Yeah, so I want to say, but I get what Lucas is trying to say. He wants a disciple of that organization.
Yeah, exactly.
That has that culture of, just, drafting from the inside out, making the right decisions, making the right moves. I get what Lucas is saying. And anytime you do that, you want to go to a winning team, not a losing team.
Right. I'm with you.
Yeah, and look, and when the Eagles did mess up, they moved off their mistakes pretty fast. I mean, Carson Wentz is probably like the longest mistake that they stayed on, and that wasn't even that long. So, and then like I said, head coach,
one of the Eagles' own, Brandon Brown. He's our assistant general manager under Joe Shane. He was director of scouting for the longest under Howie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like a disciple of Howie. That's what I'm looking at. Because look, I'm a basketball guy first, and I always think basketball, and that's how hiring in the NBA usually goes. You find a disciple of a good guy, and then bring him in and see if he can do well. And Howie's one of the best, if we're being completely honest here. He is like no lie. So I gotta give credit where credit's due there, Maurice. And like I said, head coaching wise, I would prefer some, Ben Johnson or maybe somebody from Sean McVay's camp. McVay and McVay used to be a
LaFleur
coach.
Can you take our offensive coordinator Brian Johnson?
No,
Damn.
Absolutely not.
I tried.
Now, you know who I'm also not taking, because he's probably fired at the end of the season too. I'm not taking Earl's old offensive coordinator either. I'm not taking Kellen Moore.
Don't get me started with him.
Well, did he get fired along with Staley or no?
No, they fired Staley and the GM. And then the messed up thing is they didn't give him the interim head coach.
No, they gave it to the linebackers coach, right?
Ain't that suspicious?
That is suspicious. Also should note here that I'm a West Virginia guy, and Pat White is an offensive assistant there in I was about to say San Diego. Lost the Chargers. Gosh, they should have stayed in San Diego. That just made so much more sense for them. Okay.
It's that LA marketing, man.
Is that LA marketing? So look.
Who's your player of the game?
My player of the game in this game. Ooh. I already said it. It was Terry McLaurin.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything that they want to add about the Commanders here? Just like I said, do you guys think that? Okay, so let me just go through a poll with you guys. From what you guys, would you guys give up on Sam Howell yet?
Not yet.
I would say no.
Not yet, but I think you guys are in such a tough situation that I would understand why they would move off of him, because
I would too.
A major asset that the organization didn't invest in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying here. Look, I mean, if he's the guy next year, cool. I'm willing to give him another year, but that's going to be his third offensive coordinator in 3 years, and like I said, second head coach in 2 years. And the new head coach, new GM might want to get their guy. And if I know Josh Harris,
you want fresh blood.
Yeah, you want fresh blood, and like I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I'm the Commanders, I'm really looking at Jaden Daniels from LSU. because there are flashes of RG3 there that I'm just enamored with.
I don't like how he doesn't protect himself.
Well, hopefully this time they'll teach him how to slide.
Slide.
Well, actually, I'm looking at
Slide.
one mock NFL draft right now has him going to the Giants at 6. So there you go.
If I'm the Giants, you got. Look, I'll be honest. I think, like, it's either Tommy. I don't. I'm sorry, Chris. I know you like Daniel Jones. I don't. I really don't.
I'm not saying I like him or dislike him. I'm just saying I can see a world where they say we'll hold off on quarterback another year.
And no. I don't disagree with that. Or you go.
I'm saying because there's so many holes on this roster.
Yeah, mm-hmm. I actually like Tyrod. If you're looking for somebody to steady the ship, Tyrod's probably your best option.
Tyrod's on his last year of his contract. His contract's over after this year.
Do you think he's going to retire after? I mean, he's had so many rib.
Tyrod is why. Tyrod can't stay healthy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Both you guys need to draft a lineman, offensive lineman.
Yeah, pretty much every team here, not named the Eagles, could stand to get an offensive lineman or two.
The Cowboys is all right. Cowboys is all right, offensive line.
They're getting.
I'm open to get fresh blood.
Yeah. Speaking of Cowboys,
can I go now?
Yes, you may go. Yes, you may go. Sorry.
All right, cool. Yeah, Dallas played Buffalo. They didn't show up. Scored 31-10. They just seem like they just got bullied. And the whole game, they were going in thinking that Buffalo was going to be that passing team. And Buffalo hit a virtuoso on Dallas to the point that they were like, oh, they got a weakness. What's that weakness? Stopping the run. They ran for over 200 yards total on Dallas. I've seen this before. I go back to 2019 divisional round of playoffs when the Los Angeles Rams hosted the Cowboys in the divisional round. And from what it looks like from the stat line back then, they had about 270 yards running on Dallas. And in this game, it came close to 270 yards. The only thing I could tell you is that they went into this game thinking that, hey, we got this on lock. And really, to the point, they got beat into submission. And for me, it was a wake-up call for them. Because if you go in not showing up, you get dealt with. And they got dealt with in this game. They weren't physical. Buffalo was the far physical team. Even though they may not be as good as a passing team, especially with the pass blocking, Buffalo is very good when it comes to running the ball. And I think with Joe Brady taking over for Ken Dorsey, they unlocked what they needed most with this team. They unleashed James Cook, and that man went crazy on us. And the situation is they did their running based on the outside part of the defense. Dallas' weakness with stopping the run is the outside. And you can't tell me that Jonathan Hankins was a pivotal point for them, even though he didn't play in this game. It takes all 11 to do that. Dan Quinn created this defense to create turnovers. They had one that should have been challenged, but didn't. They never got the momentum. Their bread and butter is pass rush. They're built on pass rush. Some way, shape, or form, I need to see this team adapt to learning how to stop the run. Because I believe that pass rush is earned. Stopping the run is what gets you going, and you're rewarded with a pass rush. For some reason, I really haven't seen progression with them stopping the run, especially when a team is fully committed into running the ball. And what went wrong? The defense, penalties. I'm going to start with the penalties. When you have a roughing the passer penalty, those are drive killers because the drive is extended. They can't get off the field. The defense problem, when they did try to make a stop, the drive extended. They were exhausted. The time of possession was Buffalo's. Another penalty, roughing the kicker. Sam Williams, no, you should not leave your feet when you're trying to go for a block because it leads to you either running into the kicker, roughing him, or just clobbering him. And Sam Williams got called with the roughing the kicker. That was a drive extender. Buffalo went down and scored. When they were on offense, they couldn't get anything going. The Buffalo Bills defense, they basically was playing around a cover 2, cover 3, two single high safeties in which they wanted to make sure everything was kept under them and nothing over. There was a shot Dak Prescott had Brandon Cooks, he overthrew him. That was a gap in between that they exploited and didn't capitalize on. The next thing, if you know that their linebackers aren't as good, why don't you get Jake Ferguson involved in getting the ball to him in the middle? They could have easily ran the ball. I got a chance to see Tony Pollard get back to form with running, and I just needed to see more from him running the football, especially when I see on the other side James Cook running zigzags and everything, you name it, on my defense. I needed to see it in return with Tony Pollard. You elevate Malik Davis to be that third running back and you never use him. That just doesn't make sense. It hardly rained in the game. You could have easily had a chance to run the ball. They apparently didn't. Even with the time they had, they didn't do anything with it. I'm starting to question Dan Quinn because the situation that keeps reoccurring, I really haven't seen a physical team with Dallas since defensive coordinator Rod Marinelli was on the helm in the early 2010s. It's not there. I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing people just standing there waiting for the action instead of going to get the action. There's a point, weakness at linebacker. We really don't have that many linebackers. If Marion Overshown, he tore his ACL in the offseason. Well, in the preseason, he's out. LVE, out for the season. You have Micah Parsons, but you got him mainly playing pass rusher. And I think it's too late for him to fully gain understanding to be a linebacker because he took so much time into being a pass rusher. I believe Micah and newly signed Rashawn Evans should take the role of linebacker in this game coming up with Miami because you need the veteran presence as well as the athleticism of Micah Parsons. I can't tell you how much it frustrated me seeing Marquise Bell, who's a safety converted to a linebacker, 205 pounds, try to stop a monster lineman, 370 pounds. I saw one of my linebackers get steamrolled and pancaked 20 yards. Straight drove him into the ground, hurt the man. Then you bring in Rashawn Evans. He comes in, makes a play. They take him out the game, and when Damone Clark comes back in, Rashawn Evans doesn't see the field. It's undersized. They got bullied bad. And then I put this blame on Dan Quinn because he caters to the hybrid safeties to the point we have 7 safeties compared to 1 linebacker and 1 safety converted to linebacker on the depth chart. I can't accept that, especially when there's a game that is gritty as that one was. That team for Buffalo was fighting for their lives to make the postseason. It was one of those dogfight games that I thought Dallas should have took seriously as well as game plan for everything. I'm to the point, I play linebacker. I understand what linebacker is, especially middle linebacker. Being a middle linebacker is as if you're the quarterback of the defense. Same with the quarterback on the offense. You got to make sure you're understanding everything that's required to be alert for your team, especially what you're seeing at the line of scrimmage, seeing what the quarterback is doing, as well as signaling your team to understand what's about to happen and to be able to counter it. I believe Micah Parsons and Rashaan Evans should be the linebackers in packages for this upcoming game with Miami. What went right? Brandon Aubrey. He's actually my player of the game.
I couldn't agree more.
Brandon Aubrey has been consistent with all his kicks. He's 31 for 31 on field goal attempts with the 95 percentage on extra points. There's nothing much I could say that is good. I just know what they need to address going into this Miami game on Christmas Eve. I need to see better play from the defense. I need to see Dan Quinn adapting to what the league is doing, because I feel like the league is adapting. Dan Quinn is not. And when I see a team that runs, that knows how to run the football, they're going to continue to exploit Dallas, especially with the weak linebacker play, especially undersized. So I just need to see better progression with what they do moving forward. And what do y'all guys think?
I mean, sometimes sometimes teams don't show up. I think that was part of it. I think the other part is that you guys are too thin at linebacker. I think you guys
Agreed.
I think you guys need to get some more linebacker help. And I
Couldn't
think
agree
that
more.
I think some teams that are going to be in the playoffs are going to be able to exploit that in the running game. And I think that's why you guys have such a weakness in the running game. And let's remember one thing about Dan Quinn. He was the head coach of that infamous Atlanta Falcons team that gave up a 28-3 lead at halftime in the Super Bowl. So as much as he is a great defensive coordinator, I'm not trying to say that he's not. He does have, every coach has his flaws. His is not valuing the linebacker, valuing a big athletic linebacker.
Right. You brought up my point in that. What I saw from this game, and the more with stopping the run, is starting to look like that 28-3 Falcons defense, and that was one that was alarming. Yeah, they had really good pass rushing, but they were lacking at stopping the run. I just think Dan Quinn just needs to realize what he was using Micah for his rookie year, where Micah took the majority of the linebacker snaps. And what I saw game film of that just to see what Micah could potentially be as a linebacker. I understand the money's at being a pass rusher, but linebacker is going to make you godlike because he can do best of both worlds. He's a linebacker that has pass rush tendencies. The man runs a 4.3. He can get to see hole, hit hole, and make them pay. And I just need to see Micah into the offseason. If he gets a chance to learn more of linebacker, I think it might be a little too late for him in there, but you could ease him every now and then with some experimental packages. But I saw a man literally go sideline to sideline. He disrupts the run. If you know that your team is being gashed on the run, you go out there and try to stop it, at least hinder it, but give the momentum to them. I just really didn't see that in this game. And then them exploiting a weakness, being able to see that again. This was the first time Dallas gave up 100 yards to a rusher. And that's alarming, especially when you got later part of the season going into week 15 or week 15. And it's alarming. You got a Miami team that is pretty much speed all over the field. They can throw touchdowns, but their running can control the clock. And I just need these guys prepared. I need them ready. I need to see Micah take a little bit of linebacker snaps, not as a middle linebacker, but outside linebacker. I believe Dan Quinn should do this, but he probably won't. I think they need to vert to a 3-4 with utilizing Micah and Rashawn Evans with Damone Clark at the linebacker spot. Because I feel we got enough pass rushers and we can interchange them whenever. I actually wouldn't mind seeing Dante Fowler play some linebacker because that was one of his main positions in the league.
Hey Ed, question, or I'm sorry, Earl. My apologies.
Oh, you're good.
So the one thing we all know that travels well is a run game and being able to stop the run, especially in the playoffs. Obviously, that's very alarming. With that being said, do you really think this team can go on the road and win football games if they can't stop the run?
I believe they can. I just need them to believe that they can. It's their home record is incredible with just the buildup of everything from it. But you gotta make sure that you have everything to go on the road. Like for say, you're cool at home and everything, but when you take a trip, you want to make sure you have everything you need. And right now, I'm not seeing them with everything they need. I can see the flaws on the road. And for an example, you can sound bite this. It feels like with the defense, it's like a car and they get a flat. But instead of working to get new tires, you're constantly patching up the tires that already have holes in it. And what I'm feeling with this is that you know that you have a problem, especially with the interior lineman, especially at linebacker, but you're catering to the safeties. I know I've been wanting to have safeties. We have plenty of safeties. But the one weakness that we initially have is linebacker. Micah, when drafted, he was supposed to be a linebacker, but they found out that he has pass rushing tendencies. I just need the defense to work with getting those new tires instead of running on flats being filled, patched up. I need fresh tires, keeping the car going. But on the road, Mike McCarthy through his press conference basically was talking about how there's a gap in between the home wins and the road wins. Absolutely. You have to have everything you need, especially as if you're home, because the fans travel and you have semi home field when the fans travel. They travel well. But at the same time, you know that you're going to be on the road. You got to play like it's a home game, even though it's on the road. I feel like they're too amped to the point where they need somebody to tell them, hey, let's take care of business, stand on business. Nothing too hyped, knowing that it's going to be one of those games. And yeah, the alarms could be going off with me, but I will be able to make that determination in this Miami game. If they get blown off the field again, I'm seeing, yeah, that's definitely a problem because whoever they play in the postseason, they're going to run it down their throat. Buffalo did that.
They're at Miami this week coming, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so this will be a good litmus test to see if the Dallas Cowboys can win a road game. Because if they don't win the division, they're going to be on the road. And
Yep.
and if your goal is to get to the Super Bowl like every other team's is, you're going to have to go through San Francisco. And yeah, so with all that said, the Cowboys have the talent. They're a talented football team. Even with that bad game, Dak is still playing at an MVP caliber level. They just have to put it together outside of Jerry World. We're gonna
Right.
see.
Yeah, I'm not panicking. It was just they just absolutely got obliterated in this game. And I just need them to continue to run their race. I need them to take one game at a time, not overlook anybody. Look at what's in front of them. Don't get me wrong, they're a talented team, but you can have all the talent in the world. But if you don't put it all together, then it's one of those wasted years with talent there. I believe in this team. I just need them to. I need them to show out, ball out when they need to. I know it's not going to be a blowout or anything. I just need them to play complimentary football. I didn't see that Sunday, but I'm not panicking.
Earl,
All
what do
right,
you think
guys.
the expectation is this year? What do you
Repeat
think the
that.
expectation is for this year for this team? Like NFC East Championship, divisional?
I got them getting to the NFC Conference Championship game, possible Super Bowl.
If they make it to the championship, is that success?
I agree with it. It's a step forward.
And with that being said, you guys have a lot of people you guys got to pay. How do you navigate that next year? And if you get to that NFC championship?
I would definitely make sure I lock up Dak Prescott before the number. I believe the number's already higher in what they're doing. Front office have been playing hardball with Dak, and that number got too high where they should have paid him. And right now,
Especially with him playing well, right?
yeah, that's him playing well with what he's done. I just really think the front office really, I believe they really wanted another quarterback instead of Dak. But Dak is continuing to show what he can do. I definitely know he should get paid. I know CD's up for contract. Micah's up for contract. Tyler Biotish, our center, is up for contract. I think at some point they're going to have to see which players they value more. And knowing that without Dak Prescott, they're dog water, mediocre.
Yeah.
Well, they
When he's
signed
there,
Dak. Just like any team who
Did Diggs already get paid or no?
yeah.
Diggs got paid. He's locked up.
Okay.
Malik Hooker, our
all right,
safety, is
guys.
locked up.
Guys, we got to keep on. We got to keep it moving. Let's go to the Eagles game next.
All right, cool.
Good thing you saved the Eagles for last, Lucas, on the agenda today, because there's a lot going on in the Eagles world in Philadelphia this week. Where do I start? I think it was reported Wednesday, I want to say Thursday. Darius Slay had microscopic knee surgery. He's out for the rest of the regular season. And then right after that, the next day, Friday, we got news that Jalen Hurts was feeling ill, so he stayed back. He was questionable for the game. And then Sunday morning, we got pretty shocking news that our defensive coordinator, Sean Desai, has been replaced, or I guess benched for the rest of the season, for Matt Patricia, who is a former Bill Belichick disciple. So going into this game, and mind you, I picked the Seahawks to win this game before the season started. But last week I was more confident in this team simply because they lost two straight to two really good football teams. And the winning culture will turn it on and go to Seattle, which they haven't won there in like 12 years. They've lost 8 straight to Seattle, by the way, and win a football game on Monday night. They did not do that. The Philadelphia Eagles lost 20-17. All three phases of the football looked horrendous. The coaches looked like they had no clue what they were doing. The players were just inept on the field. And overall, this is a Super Bowl caliber team that won the Super Bowl last year, and they look nothing like it right now. This doesn't even look like the team that they were earlier this football season. You know, I hate talking about stats when the Eagles lose, but this was, and we're going to have a conversation about this. I know we are. This is probably the worst stretch of football Jalen Hurts has played so far in his career. Maybe outside of his rookie year when he's got a little bit of time back in on Carson Wentz. He was 17 for 31 for 143 yards and 2 interceptions. Jalen Hurts looked terrible. And this is the first time on this podcast I'm really saying Jalen Hurts stunk. Because he stunk.
Maurice, is Jalen Hurts a $60 million problem?
Yeah, I knew we was going to get to this. Because I've seen...
Wait, what?
Is he a $60 million problem?
Oh.
Yes, he's worth the problem. Now, I've seen Chris's tweets. And I've seen him call Jalen Hurts mid or just not a good quarterback or overrated. I will say this.
I'm going to keep it a buck, Maurice. He's a phenomenal athlete. I don't think he's a good quarterback.
I can't say that he's not a good quarterback.
Jalen Hurts is a good quarterback. Right now, he's in a bad stretch. And I think he's simply the coaching has not helped him at all. And, I mentioned Brian Johnson earlier. And he's the offensive coordinator. They didn't get rid of him. They got rid of the defensive coordinator, even though it's not really Sean Desai's fault the defense is bad. They just don't have talent. But back to the offense, I think Brian Johnson hasn't helped Jalen Hurts and his offense in general be successful this season. They have too much talent.
Top 3 for touchdown to interception ratio, turnover ratio, bottom 3, and he has probably the best talent around him. Like, what do we say?
I would say it's 50% coaching, and I think 50% Jalen Hurts is not playing his best football right now.
I mean, look, I'll say this. I just want to say this. Jalen Hurts is an above-average quarterback. However,
why?
Because you can't bring unless you're Rex Grossman, you cannot be an average quarterback and bring a team to a Super Bowl, and that's what he did last year. I will still ride that wave a little bit. That being said, Jalen Hurts does not look.
You're going to continue to do that.
You got
it. Until they get eliminated from the playoffs this year. Yes, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. But that being said, he is not an elite quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback. Maurice, he's not. He's not.
And
he's an elite athlete that is a good quarterback.
I will say this: Jalen Hurts wins football games, and that's pretty much all you can ask for a starting quarterback in the NFL. And let me say this before you continue, Chris. Let me say this before you continue. You asked me, was Jalen Hurts a $60 million quarterback? Now, for context for everybody out there, Jalen Hurts signed a contract, a 5-year contract for $255 million. Now, let me ask this question to the fellas here. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts now let's talk about next year. Because next year everybody will be fully healthy and we'll have a complete team. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts? Now next year he's making $40 million, and it can go up to 64 with incentives. So I'm looking at it right now. So his yearly cash amount is $40 million. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts at $40 million? Or would you rather have Daniel Jones next year at $36 million?
I mean, that's an easy answer. It's Jalen Hurts, dude.
Earl?
We're just talking about quarterbacks, fellas. Like, come on.
I mean,
Eagles roster.
I understand that, and that's a common criticism. People say, "Well, Jalen Hurts, he's an average quarterback, but he has great talent around."
One of the best rosters in football, bro. Like, let's keep it a buck. You have one of the best rosters in football. You have.
I wouldn't say rosters. I would say offensive.
Look at what Shane Steichen is doing in Indy.
I would say offensive. I would say offensive weapons. Now he has a good receiving duo.
Offensive line?
I would say weapons, offensive weapons.
And line blocking, run game.
Tight end too.
Yeah.
Run game. Dallas Goedert.
So, but you didn't answer my question. Would you rather have Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones? Because if you call Jalen Hurts mid and Jalen Hurts is making 40, Daniel Jones is making 36, and they pretty much want to get rid of him.
I'm not defending Daniel Jones either. They're both mid. They
I
both
think
saw
there's a big gap of talent between the two of them.
I agree with Maurice on this one. There is a big gap. Like I don't think the Giants would be quite as bad as if they had Jalen Hurts over Daniel Jones.
I think you're completely wrong because when we look at Jalen when he drops back into straight pass sets, he looks horrible. Horrible.
Seems like he has a one.
His completion rating
with it.
in the pocket, passing in the pocket, is one of the highest in the league.
But how many times is he throwing the ball deep versus actually sitting back and going?
Well, that's more play calling.
You know,
that goes to coaching.
Chris, I almost feel like you're bringing up all this bad stuff about Jalen Hurts the week right before you guys play against them. Is there any connection there?
No, it has. All I'm saying is if you take, there's 32 teams in the league. If you take 25, let's say you take every dual threat quarterback that is in the league, I'd say 70% of them would be successful in Philly. 70%.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, let's do this exercise. We'll take Jalen Hurts. We'll go through each team in the division. Maurice, ask us who would we rather have, our starting quarterback or Jalen Hurts?
Well, that's obvious, Lucas. I mean, right now, Dak is the best quarterback in the division.
So Dallas is off, but would we rather have Jalen Hurts?
We're talking about quarterbacks in a division that's all about
division. Dak is in the division
and run game. Like. It's more important to have.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really make that comparison right now. Yeah, I mean,
that's why I'm like, that doesn't matter.
You're saying from a talent aspect.
And it's more valuable to the Eagles to have that run game. That's why I'm saying for a dual threat quarterback like a Jalen or a Daniel Jones, the fact that he has his run game, Daniel Jones last year looked his best because they were 5th in the league in rushing.
Well, they have an elite running back.
The offensive line was healthy and they were actually blocking.
Okay, so what happened this year?
And Saquon was healthy along with that.
Okay, I mean you make a fair point when it comes to that, but just going, and I know we're really getting off the rails, but
but going back to the whole and going back to the play calling thing, when the Eagles have switched from their identity of being able to run the football down your throat and getting pretty with it, they look terrible because Jalen cannot sit back and throw the football.
I think he could throw the football. I think the Super Bowl.
I'm not trying to throw digs at him. I don't have anything against Jalen Hurts. There's a reason why he got benched against Tua. Like,
well, that's not fair. That's 4 years ago.
College. That's college.
Yeah. I mean, that's not fair.
Compare apples to
oranges. I mean, just look at the Super Bowl, for example. Jalen Hurts went pass for pass with Mahomes in the Super Bowl, so he has the passing talent. Right now, he's not well. Right now, I think he's playing terrible right now.
Do you think it's through the coordinators?
Well, I mean, I wanted our offensive coordinator to be the head coach of the Commanders. That would fix the problem.
No. Don't you dare put that on us. No.
Yeah, but
I
deserve a good head coach.
For Jalen Hurts when, as you guys age and Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson eventually retire soon, and to see how he overcomes a mediocre offensive line. If you can't keep an elite offensive line in that run game, not saying it's going to be bad, but if it's average, I'm very interested to see how he progresses his game.
Well, that's one of the philosophies of our franchise. They always build through the line. They've been doing that for 20 years. I mean, going all the way back to, Todd Harriman's, Trey Thomas, to Jason Peters, who's still playing. They've always had good offensive line and defensive lines as well. So that's the philosophy of Howie Roseman and owner Jeffrey Lurie. So I don't question that. Well, going back, I just want to go back to this game real quick. Yeah, and I mentioned this plenty of times on this podcast over the last couple of weeks. I think the offense right now is very predictable. Shane Steichen was really good offensive coordinator for us last season. He's not here. I think Brian Johnson, who was the quarterback's coach, doesn't have the creativity and doesn't know how to utilize the talent. What is different about Shane
Steichen versus Bobby Johnson?
Brian Johnson. Well, Shane was more creative. He used more RPO. He played.
Why
He
don't you
called
guys
plays.
use motion?
Yeah, we don't use motion this year.
Why?
Well, that's the coaching. I mean, that's simply the coaching. I would put Devontae Smith in way more motion behind in the backfield to start plays. I would utilize our tight end Dallas Goedert more up the middle of the field. He doesn't use the talent that's given to him, and it's a lot of talent, like we just talked about, to the best of their abilities right now. And it's obvious. The Dallas Cowboys game, we didn't score a touchdown. This game right here, we have many lulls in this game against the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times the talent is just playing above the X's and O's. A lot of the time.
Well, your talent can. Your talent can. And I agree with that. I agree with that. But, and Earl just mentioned this, the Buffalo Bills ran the football down the Cowboys' throat. The Eagles could have did the same thing, but they didn't rush. They didn't run the ball unless it was a quarterback, a design run, which I'm not a fan of that because Jalen Hurts can get really hurt doing that, and he's not 100% healthy as it is. So we have I haven't even gotten to the defense of this game yet, and then the defense might be even a bigger problem right now because they changed coordinators. Slay is out.
Terrible.
Linebackers they can't tackle.
Yeah.
They're slow.
It's terrible.
They're old.
I forgot to mention that with Dallas and the Buffalo game. They couldn't tackle to save their life.
Now, and we as fans of football, one thing we always gripe about, us football fans, we could say, oh, they need to run the ball more. They need to learn how to tackle. I understand tackling is hard, especially when you're trying to tackle a 200-plus supreme athlete. I understand it's hard to tackle, and you're going to miss tackles from now and then. But in the case of the Philadelphia Eagles, we need to show way more heart, way more passion, just some toughness, man. And I think we're getting commitment. I think we're getting bullied right now on our defensive side of the football. Our defensive line is okay. It's okay. I mean,
what do you think that the biggest miss is with the defensive line and that historic year of the 70-something sacks?
Well, they're not getting the same pressure on the edges like they did last season. Hassan Reddick is still good, but he's actually getting double teamed sometimes. Not sometimes, a lot. And Josh Sweat on the other side is just not getting pressure. He's not getting sacks.
Actually, Josh Sweat is one of the leaders in our division for sacks this season. Just wanted to point that out. I think
was it 6?
He's 4th or 5th. Let me double check the stats. Give me a minute here.
Maurice, quick question.
And on top of that, and I do know this, he hasn't had a sack in about 5 games.
So it's what, Thibodeau, Parsons, somebody else?
Repeat that again.
Yeah.
Sweat is 4th with 6.5 sacks on the season.
Thibodeau has, I think, 12.
Okay, do you guys want to know the stats? You know what, Maurice, I'm gonna cut off the conversation here because we got to keep on moving. We've been on here for a while. We got to keep on moving. Quick player of the game, and then we're moving on to stats.
Player of the game, I'll give it to Fletcher Cox, 33 years old. He got a sack. He's one of the few guys in that defense that's actually still playing with some heart and determination, and I salute him for it. He's the player of the game.
All right, cool. So now I'm gonna take over for Mal this week in terms of the stats. I was gonna end up doing. I was originally gonna do like defensive stats for like scoring stats, and I might go back to that. But we bring up sacks. We're gonna talk about sacks. So. This in the division this season so far, Micah Parsons leads all players with 12.5 sacks. He's tallied in terms of yards lost by each sack, 102, 13 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. Kayvon Thibodeau, 11.5 sacks, 93 yards, 12 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery. Hassan Reddick, 11 sacks, 80 yards, 11 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble. Josh Sweat, 6.5 sacks, 50 yards, 7 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles. And then Jonathan Allen of the Commanders rounds it out at 5 with 5.5 sacks, 24 yards, 10 tackles for loss. So, anything from those stats that you guys want to take away from real quick?
I'm just so proud of my son, Kayvon Thibodeau, coming along.
Your son.
I never counted him out. I always knew he was going to ball out. Like I said before, y'all, it's trusting the process. Like my man Joel Embiid says, just you got to trust the process.
Trust the process. They're playing right now, Sixers.
I like what Michael Parsons is doing, especially with his pass rush total. I just would like to see him adapt more with understanding linebacker, because I see so much raw potential in his skill set at being a linebacker. I feel that 12 sacks are good, but having double-digit tackles a game, possible interception, as well as including the sacks, he wants to be an impact guy. Being a linebacker could actually harness that.
All right, yeah, no, Jonathan Allen. Well, we would have had, if we didn't trade Chase Young and Montez Sweat would have been third on this list, third or fourth. But no, he would have been third, I think. But anyway, but Jonathan Allen rounding it off.
Lucas, how do you feel about Montez Sweat? I think there was a stat of him, like 4 total sacks for the entire year, and he has like 7.
No. He had like 7 or 8 sacks before he got traded.
And he has 6 in Chicago or something?
I wouldn't be surprised. The guy's a monster. And he's already badmouthed the team, and I don't blame him, honestly.
Him and Chase Young are destroying the Commanders.
Yeah. I mean, look, we might have a new ownership, but everything else is still the same. And until that stuff changes, they have the right to.
Yeah. People don't want to Washington.
Yeah. But, Earl, it's time for our round between the lines.
Yes, because 2 minutes and 4 minutes was not enough. All right. I'm going to start off with the games that I have slated. I'm going to start off with the Los Angeles Chargers against the Las Vegas Raiders. When I tell you it was a beatdown, it was a beatdown. This was a college score. The Raiders beat the Chargers 63-21. The crazy stat line that I have is that Justin Herbert's out for the season with an injury to his throwing finger. I wish him a speedy recovery. Their backup Stick had 32 pass attempts, completed 23 of them for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. But the MVP of this game was Aiden O'Connell. He completed 20 of his 34 attempts for 248 yards and 4 touchdown passes. It was an absolute annihilation of the Chargers to the point that they fired their head coach as well as fired their GM. The next game I have is the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts won this game 30-13. The MVP of this game was Gardner Minshew. He had completed 18 of his 28 completions, and he had 215 yards and 3 touchdowns. The next game that I have is the Denver Broncos against the Detroit Lions. Detroit showed up, balled out. They won 42-17. Jared Goff had 24 completions of his 34 passing attempts at 278 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 11 carries for 100 yards and 1 touchdown. And Amon St. Brown had 7 receptions for 112 yards and 1 touchdown. And the last game I had was the New York Jets against the Miami Dolphins. And the Jets delivered a powdered donut. The only touchdown they had was landing in Miami. The Dolphins won 30-0. Tua had 21 completions from his 24 attempts for 224 yards, 1 touchdown. Raheem Mostert had 15 carries for 42 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle, 8 receptions, 142 yards, and 1 touchdown. Miami was rolling. My boys play them this Sunday coming up. All right, and the next person is Lucas. Why don't you talk about your slate of games?
Yeah, let me go ahead and talk about that. So the first game I got here is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Patriots. Still weird to see Bailey Zappi being the starter. He did not impress. Patrick Mahomes did with 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. They were without Isaiah Pacheco in this game. Rasheed Rice did pretty well in the passing game. So did their backup running back, Clyde Edwards. I don't know how to say that last part. Hilaire. Okay. Yeah. So like good on the Chiefs. They needed a bounce back win. The next game that I'm going to talk about here is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Green Bay Packers. Baker Mayfield decided to say to everybody here, let me show you why I was the first overall pick. He's had struggles, but they won this game. He had 381 yards for 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Rashid White had 89 yards rushing, and Chris Goodwin had 10 receptions for 155 yards. So there was a lot there. That was pretty cool. Next, it was good to see good old Joe Flacco play another good game. Had 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, but they still got the win against the Chicago Bears. Joe led a late game comeback here. Besides Joe impressing, Amari Cooper and David Njoku both had over 100 yards receiving. Njoku had 10 receptions for 104 yards. Cooper had 109 yards. And if I remember correctly, Cooper got the game tying touchdown, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Do you miss Cooper at all, Earl?
I miss him every day.
I bet you do.
Fuck with you. Trading them for gummy bears and a single bag of chips.
All right, and then last game.
The Joneses for that.
The last game, Houston Texans without their
I
star.
will say, going back to Joe Flacco, I am enjoying seeing the success that Flacco has around the Cleveland
absolutely
roster. It's just amazing. It just goes to show the power of having a built, talented roster. Even Joe Flacco's 40 years old, and
not quite that old, but he's close.
But in his late 30s, and he's throwing for 300 plus yards every game, multiple touchdowns, and that team looks dangerous.
They are a dangerous team in the playoffs.
That's the team I wouldn't want to see because of that. They have one of the best defenses in the NFL.
I mean, look, could they make a run?
Absolutely.
I think so. Look,
I think the AFC is wide open.
I think it's wide open too. Absolutely. I think they have a
chance. Yeah.
I don't trust the Ravens. I don't.
Guys, but I think it'd be a great segment to talk about the parity in the NFL this year because there's so much parity in the NFL.
Well, I'll give you a chance to do that at the end, Chris. But right now we got to keep on going. Last game here that I'm covering: Houston Texans versus the Tennessee Titans. Texans won 19-16, eliminating the Titans. By the way, Commanders were officially eliminated too, but that's not really surprising here. Houston won despite not having their star rookie C.J. Stroud. Casey Keenum came in and did Keenum things. Besides that, I mean, he had 229 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Devin Singletary, I remember him being a college star. He had 121 yards on 26 carries. Good for him. Noah Brown did pretty good. And on that note, Maurice, it is your turn. Oh, wait, no. Did I miss one? No, I didn't. Okay, yep. Maurice, go ahead.
All right. So Cincinnati Bengals defeated the Minnesota Vikings 27-24. Jake Browning looks pretty good too as a backup. A lot of backups in the NFL this year. We had a lot of injuries though, but a lot of backups are prospering right now. Jake Browning he continues to shine with 324 passing yards, two
Maurice,
TDs,
you
and one interception.
with the availability of QB1s going down, how much of this year has shown GMs that the backup quarterback market will go up? And
Oh, it's definitely going
up.
Quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
It's going up. Look,
Yeah.
I expect guys like Cam Newton and RG3 to get jobs next year. They're not going
Really?
to worry about the look. I
Really?
think they can still play. I think as a backup, they could come in, maybe win you a game. I think in the
disagree.
past, well, agree to disagree on this one. But look, I think in the past when you have guys that have big names, teams like to stay away from them to avoid QB controversy. But at this point, with the lack of availability of QB1s, like you want to have a high end backup now.
Especially if you're a contender, you got to have.
So maybe you get maybe you don't care about the name as much anymore. I mean, they eventually brought in Carson Wentz for to LA, and like he's a big name. He's not a good name, but he's a big name.
Yeah, I think he's washed too.
Well, I mean, he's a backup, but
Yeah.
like could he come in and maybe help you out in 1 or 2 games? Maybe. I don't know.
I won't trust it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, keep on going, Maurice. Sorry.
I'm gonna keep on going. Carolina Panthers beat the Falcons 9-7. There was really no standout here statistically. Eddie Pinero, their kicker, scored all 9 points. Field goals, his longest was 34 yards. And the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers dominated the Cardinals right now, and they scored 45-29. Brock Purdy passed for 242 yards, 4 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey, and I'm going to throw this out there to y'all. He had 187 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Does Christian McCaffrey deserve MVP? Can they really give it to a running back this year?
They should. They really should.
Couldn't agree more.
Look, I don't think there's a quarterback in the NFL that's really like separated himself, except for maybe Dak. But even Dak has had his
gotta win.
Yeah. Dak's that game, this past game was not helpful for that MVP candidate. But like
unacceptable.
Outside of like Dak, is there really a guy that's really like impressed? Like Brock Purdy, sure, but when he doesn't have his like left tackle and second wideout, he doesn't look as good. Number 2 wideout, he doesn't look that good. So, I mean, look, I think McCaffrey
pro left tackle.
I mean, look, if I'm making an MVP ballot right now, if it's just me, and I'm not trying to, I don't want to segue into this because this is not what we're talking about in today's podcast. But if I had to make a quick MVP it would the top 3 in no particular order would be Dak, McCaffrey, and Tyreek Hill.
Really, Dak would be your MVP right now.
I said on my ballot top 3. I did not say in any. I did not say in any particular order.
I'm sorry.
No particular order.
No Lamar.
No Lamar. No, I'm sorry.
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Okay. And to finish up. Speaking of the Ravens,
no Jalen Hurts. No Jalen Hurts.
No.
He's elite.
No.
He has over 10 interceptions and 4 fumbles. No way.
Right.
Yeah.
With one of the most talented rosters.
Okay. Well, I will let you get back to it, Chris. Just let us get through this segment, and then I will let you get back to this conversation.
We can revisit that. No worries.
And the Baltimore Ravens dismantled the Jaguars 23-7. Lamar Jackson had 268 yards total is 268 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He had 97 yards rushing. I mean, I will put him in my top 3.
Okay. Well,
Lamar in your top 3, or
yes, Lamar Jackson.
Where would you put Trevor Lawrence right now?
No, Trevor Lawrence is not. No.
At the very bottom.
I actually right now I would have, if I had to vote for MVP right now, it would be Christian McCaffrey.
I'd probably say him or Tyreek. I can't make a decision right now between those 2.
I'd give it to Tyreek Hill just because you see what that team is without him, and they suck.
I mean, they were still able to beat the Jets last week, right?
The Jets
played the Titans.
Oh,
Jets.
Well, anyway.
The Jets are inept on offense. Inept.
Okay. Well, anyway, do you have any more games, Maurice?
No, that's it.
My bad.
Okay. So before we get back into this, I want you guys, our listeners, to know this. So since we moved off the Eagles, Maurice and Chris have been in our little group chat here talking smack to each other. So I'm going to allow 2 minutes starting now. So that it's 9:03 right now. At 9:05, we are moving on. That is it. You guys have the floor. Go for it, guys.
I think
Let's get it on.
In the chat, Chris typed put Daniel Jones on that team and it looks the same. So that could be a poll. That could definitely be a poll for us for this week. Okay. If Daniel Jones healthy, is on the Eagles, will he be as successful? Now, are we talking statistically successful or record-wise?
Statistically.
Okay. Do you guys agree or disagree with that?
I disagree. But you already know how
I feel about
I feel about Daniel Jones.
Well, so. Lucas said at the beginning of the season, Daniel Jones was a fluke.
Daniel Jones is 6-1-1 against your team. What are we doing?
Look, my team has inner demons when it comes to you guys. I'm not talking about Daniel Jones versus I'm talking about Daniel Jones as a quarterback. He had one good season. No, I'm not counting that second. Nah, one good season.
I'm talking about his rookie year.
Yeah, no, I'm not talking about his rookie year. No, one good season.
He threw for 24 touchdowns in 13 games.
All right, so let me, because we're getting off topic a little bit here. Chris, now you've gone on record as saying
that's more than Jalen Hurts has ever thrown for.
But see, Jalen Hurts
ever thrown for.
Now I will say this: beginning of the season, we had a prediction podcast, and I said Lucas asked us who would lead the division in passing yards, and I said Dak, because Jalen Hurts is not going to accumulate a lot of passing yards. He's going to rush, which takes away from the passing, and Dak is just a better passer overall. That's factual. So when it comes to passing yards, I'm not looking at the total 4,000, 5,000 yard passing from Jalen Hurts. What I'm looking for Jalen Hurts is to be efficient and win football games.
Do you want to know the stats for it? Do you want to know the
So this year total he's rushed for.
All right. Do you guys want to know the stats for passing? I have them up right here because we post them on social media. Okay. Yeah. Real quick. So
we're not going to count Daniel because he's hurt.
These are active quarterbacks in the NFC East right now. So number one, I rank them based off of QBR. I feel like that's the easiest thing to rank them off of, right? Okay. So number one is Dak Prescott at 72.7. He's 68.8% completion percentage, 3,639 yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Jalen Hurts is number two, QBR of 59.9, completion percentage of 65.7, 3,335 yards, 19 passing touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Sam Howell, QBR of 46.2, completion percentage of 64.7, 3,568 yards, 19 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Tommy DeVito, who's the active quarterback for the Giants right now until injury proves otherwise. He has a QBR of 22.9, 64.4% completion percentage, 1,032 yards, 8 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah. And just to wrap this up. I understand Jalen Hurts is not playing his best football right now. I've said that many times in this pod. He's not playing his best football right now. But when Jalen Hurts is right, he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. He can win you football games when it matters the most. And he's proven just off roster,
correct?
Just off wins and losses, he's a successful quarterback.
Well, let me just say this, and then
we're talking about putting Daniel Jones on the Eagles. If you put Jalen Hurts on other teams, how successful is he?
I think maybe he doesn't have quite the same record, but I think he'd do. If you're asking me I believe if Jalen Hurts was on the Giants roster, he would have a better record. By how much, I don't know.
I actually think his statistics will be better because he'll be passing more.
Would he?
Now, would it equate to winning? I don't know, but just off the roster and the talent, probably not. But I think Daniel Jones would not be successful in the Eagles. Because at the end of the day, Daniel Jones is not a great passer.
Not a great.
It'd be-
How so?
He's just not a good passer. That's pretty. I don't think I can get him a clear cut than that. He's not a good passer. He's not a good passing quarterback.
He led the NFL in QBR in top 5.
QBR is decision making. It's based off decision making, not passing. They look at each play and they rate it on the QBR whether it's a good decision or a bad decision. That's how they.
Completion percentage.
Did he lead the NFL last season in completion percentage? I don't know.
He was third in completion percentage.
Okay, cool. Was Ryan Dable's offense tailored to fit his strengths?
I would say so.
Okay. Did he take that many long shots downfield?
What they took the long shots when they could.
Okay. My point is that he might be good in he's an intermediate passer, right? In between
that's
5
his
to 10.
strengths.
Yeah,
His
okay, so
strength
that's
is
his strength, right?
But you want to say he's a check down quarterback, is he?
No, not a check down, like the 15 to 25 yard.
Nah. He's more like the 5 to 10, maybe.
I think you would really have to dive into the stats on this one, but
yeah, we don't have time to do that.
We're getting off the rails here.
Yeah, let's go back. Finish up with our fantasy football. Who's that? Maurice.
Yeah,
Maurice. Yep.
Fantasy wise, I took an L in the semifinals to my friend John. John's going to the finals. He beat me 180 to 114. Pretty much. Baker Mayfield done me in.
Yeah, he did.
Baker Mayfield had a career day. He had 4 touchdowns, and Dak had a terrible day. And that was pretty much it for me. I was done.
Hey, Maurice, you still got another week to try to change the narrative.
What?
It's 2 weeks. So.
Wait. Is the first round really?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks, dude.
It's 2 weeks.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, good for me.
Yeah.
Whoa, this is the news to me. Why is it 2 weeks?
It gives us. It's always been like that. Where you get 2 weeks, where it counts for the first week, and then the points get added to that towards after this week.
It's not Yahoo, man. It's ESPN. We work differently over here, man.
Yahoo's
weird. By the way, I just want to point out that I'm I think I'm one of the best, if not the best team in your basketball Yahoo league. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I'm slipping. My apologies.
No. You guys are good. It's still early in basketball. But back to this. I learned something new here. I didn't even know that. Because this is my first time playing ESPN. Usually, for people that are listening, I play Yahoo. I prefer Yahoo. I think the interface is better than ESPN.
Yeah.
But a 2 week playoff? I've never heard of that before.
Well, you got 2 rounds basically because it's only 4 teams, so you don't want it to end too quickly. So you have the semifinals and then finals, and then same thing for the loser bracket.
Okay, so I still got a shot here. I did not know that.
Sure do.
In other words, what we're saying is you have a chance.
There's still a chance.
What you're saying is I still got a chance.
Yeah,
what is that, bro?
And Earl has a chance too because Joe was beating him 162 to 113.
Man, Buffalo went off in this game, man. It wasn't much I could do. Like, his team is basically Buffalo dominant. And
Bills Mafia.
Most of my guys underperformed. Jordan Love gave me 39.5. Kenneth Walker.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Because I didn't trust Mahomes, and then Stroud is out with a concussion. So I'm just looking through my team to see who is going to step up when. It's just kind of a seesaw right now, roller coaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can call it a comeback. Been here for years. I just got to see how the team does.
All right, Earl. We both got to come back. I'm gonna see you in.
You ain't the only one. I'm losing to Mal right now.
But you're not in the playoffs, Lucas.
Yeah, but we still got the consolation round. Let me enjoy that. I can
place,
still be the best of the worst.
You want third place?
I'll take it.
All right. Mal's beating you 104 to 97.
Yeah.
You still got a shot, man.
I still got a shot. Look, I started Sam Howell over Jared Goff, and that was the biggest mistake. I think I messed up in another skill position too, and I can't remember which one. Oh, I didn't start Terry this week.
Yeah, you've been done in by your own commander players.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead, Maurice. Let's talk about week 16, and then we'll wrap things up.
All right, so Commanders versus the Jets.
I want to lose it. I want to lose it.
Oh,
give me that top 5. Look, hail to the process. Hail to the process. Trust the process. Hail to the process. Same owner for both franchises, right? Hail to the process. Like I said, I'm open to getting a quarterback. If not, let's get an offensive lineman or Marvin Harrison Jr. Those are my 3 options. That's what I want. If at this point, because like winning isn't gonna. We've already been eliminated from the playoffs, so what's the point?
Right. Nah, you're right. You're right. Get the higher draft pick you could possibly get. Draft an old lineman. Help Howell build your defense and see where you go from there.
Yeah.
Cowboys versus the Dolphins. You're in Miami, Earl.
Yes. Yes. Christmas Eve. I just know they just have to show up. I know that there was a little bit of Twitter beef between Tyreek Hill and Micah Parsons. Time to settle the score. Sunday, Christmas Eve, Dallas, what you going to do? 100% going to be on the defense. Dan Quinn, this is on you, my guy.
Yeah, it's going to be on the defense. You got to stop that offense, man. That's the game right there.
This is going to be a true test for him. But let's go to the Christmas Day matchup.
Yeah, it's going to be some presents for somebody. Somebody getting cold. Somebody's getting some presents, Chris. But the Giants...
Jalen Hurts self-destructing and give us a couple interceptions. Then I do Tommy DeVito going and taking that game. So with all that talent, he's one of the worst.
I just want Mal to get the tattoo. That's what I want here.
Oh yeah, that too.
Wait, so you think the Giants can win?
No.
I think if Tommy's healthy,
if we go there and stop the run, we got a shot. I don't think they're going to win, but it's going to take a lot.
Yeah, Eagles really need to bounce back. I will say this: if the Eagles somehow lose this football game, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. And you guys know I'm critical of my team more than anybody else. I'm not just a homer.
Even more than me?
Yeah, you're critical. You're critical.
I think we're all equally critical of our teams here. I don't think
we all want our team to succeed. So
and we're honest about when we don't.
Honest.
If they lose this game to the Giants, don't even suit up for the playoffs because they don't have a chance against any of these teams, especially the 49ers. And prediction, I know we're about to end this. Prediction, as of right now, I see the San Francisco 49ers winning the Super Bowl.
I mean, look, we're definitely going to get into that more in after the regular season's over, but I'm not disagreeing.
I'm making that prediction right now. They have home field.
That call yet.
I know you aren't, Earl. I know you aren't, Earl.
Earl's
I'm not conceding. I'm not conceding like everyone else in the media. I just
look. My team's done. I have no dog in this fight.
With San Francisco having home field, it's going to be real tough to stop them on the road. I'm just saying. I
just need Dallas to flip the switch on the road. If they're able to do it, this is a test for them. So
it's big if.
And the same with the if with y'all beating the Giants Christmas Day. We all got ifs.
Yeah, so and at the end of the day, you gotta play the
comes full circle.
Like they said, you have to play the football games. You got to play the game. So it really comes down to that.
We just gotta show up, run our race.
I'm big on Jalen being mid on us on Christmas Day.
I mean,
he's not going to get off of that one.
He's not good. Man.
I don't think he's mid, but
he's in a rough patch right now.
I think Jalen Hurts had a career year last year.
It won't unravel. Like, I'm not going to...
Last year.
Huh?
Jalen Hurts had a career year last year, just like Daniel Jones.
And how many years has he had that career year of going to the Super Bowl? Has he done it 5-6 times?
No, but he's still young. I mean, that's not fair to say. I mean, you can only compare that to Mahomes. Mahomes is different.
Worse touchdown to interception. Turnover ratio.
Listen,
One of the most talented rosters.
We're agreeing that he's having a bad year right now, or not year, but he's having a bad stretch right now.
So if you went from the best to the worst, aren't you in the middle?
No, he's not saying he's the worst. He's definitely not the worst quarter. He's definitely not having the worst stretch. He's not even having the worst stretch in the division. That's my guy right now, okay? So let's be real about that. And then also, like I said,
at this point right now,
to be fair, right now Jalen Hurts is in a slump.
He's in a slump. That's a fair way to say it.
But he's still, I would say he's still a top 10 quarterback right now.
Maybe, top, maybe 12, 15.
I'd say top 15.
He's still a top half quarterback.
Yeah.
Even in a slump. The difference, so this is what I'm going to say. Both Daniel Jones, just to end this argument so that we can wrap things up here.
They're both mid.
So let me just say this. Both had career years last year. Daniel Jones barely got his team into the playoffs as a result. Jalen Hurts got his team to the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
That is the difference.
Bro,
now they're both having
better than this,
bad years.
We're better than this. It's more than just the quarterback.
Okay. But my point is that even at your team's best, which you can argue last year was your team's best that it has had since Eli's prime, that you were barely a playoff team. And you got lucky against Kirk Cousins.
Look at my roster compared to Philly's roster. Look at how I think the past 10 years compared to Philly.
I think that's pretty much the baseline for all criticism for Jalen Hurts right now is the roster around him and the talent. Listen, at the end of the day,
that's why I'm criticizing him.
The quarterback.
If he was on the Giants, I wouldn't be criticizing him. I'd actually probably be praising him.
The quarterback is the main focus of a team. The quarterback is the number one priority. If the quarterback stinks, the team is probably going to stink. The quarterback's good.
Depending. There's always context.
I just feel like I said. I feel like if you want the best out of Daniel Jones, who, let's be clear, is not the quarterback of the future for the Giants anymore. He can't be. He's done. I think you can even agree.
How do you know that?
Look, the city is turned on him. I just don't see it happening, dude. I really don't. And like I said, I have the worst opinion of Daniel Jones on this podcast. Is that fair to say, guys?
Yes.
I would too if he beat your team 7 times.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but you can't beat anybody else. That's cool. So, that being said, Daniel Jones, he might have a chance to be a really. I believe that if the Giants can trade him, they will.
But it's not. But going back to the reason the Giants can beat the Commanders is because of how they can run the football. And
this has nothing to do with the quarterback. We're talking about the quarterback.
That's the team portion of that versus why it's like, okay, well, is it the quarterback? Is it the team? Like in certain scenarios, yes. Like, yes, the team can play good, but in other scenarios, the team looks like trash, if that makes sense.
You mean you're able to take advantage of a team that has one of the legitly maybe the only worse offensive line than you guys do? I mean, that's the way I see it. I mean,
that's why he looks so terrible that's why he looks terrible versus Dallas and Philly, because they can't block. And
I mean, most teams, did he even win a game this year? Like, no, he won one game against Arizona, right? He won one game. Against Arizona, a team that has a worse record than the Commanders.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Arizona beat Dallas.
Okay. Yeah. And Earl's still fuming about that.
Nah, I'm kind of cool with it. It's just shouldn't have happened.
Okay. My point is that I don't believe you can believe in Daniel Jones, Chris, and I'm not gonna hate you for it. We still want you back on the pod, obviously. I just don't believe in him, and I don't feel like, from what I can see on Twitter, that and from what I can tell, most of Giants Twitter has moved on from Daniel Jones too.
Yeah.
Now he's gonna like I said, he's probably gonna be back next year. It's gonna be an open competition. between DeVito, Jones, and whatever rookie they draft in whatever round.
It shouldn't be a competition.
But it will.
DeVito, no.
I see. That's the thing. Like, I think everybody else here believes in DeVito more than you do.
I mean, he's a third-string quarterback for a reason. Lucas.
I get that. But, like, has he not invigorated that team and made them look better for the most part than Daniel Jones?
Let me say this, and I'm just a Eagles fan looking in from the outside. Daniel Jones' contract is so big next year, it's going to be really hard for them to trade him unless they throw in a bunch of draft picks. So unless they just draft a quarterback and say, hey, we're going to pay him to sit on the bench, Daniel Jones is probably going to be the quarterback next year.
Right. Like, this team is already invested in this kid. The same way when Geno Smith is healthy, he's going out there and playing. The same way when Joe Burrow comes back, he's going on the field and playing. Teams invest in these guys. They have assets and money tied into these guys. You're going out and playing.
I wouldn't compare Joe Burrow to Geno Smith. And
I'm just saying the team and the teams invest money in these guys. You're going out and playing regardless. Like, you have money invested in the asset. Go play.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. If they draft a quarterback in the first 3 rounds, I could see him starting over again.
We're definitely going to need to have Chris back sometime during the offseason.
Yeah, I think we should have Chris back after the draft. I think that would be a perfect time to have Chris back. But Chris, will you be back next week?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. See,
Yeah.
we'll have this discussion all over again.
The matchup with Giants and Philly.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have this whole entire discussion again.
Performance.
Thank you all for listening. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify. Make sure to follow us on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads at 13_Rings Podcast. And we're now on Apple Podcasts at 13 Rings. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, have a good day.
All right,
Merry Christmas.